Welcome. My name is Chris as well. And this is a casual stream. I have nothing planned. If you have questions about the fractal gear, I'm here to answer it. And if not, that's okay. We can hang out, talk about whatever. But I am here to answer anyone's questions about the fractal gear and things like that. I'm not a big tone creator. I don't like make tones. Like, how do I make a Van Halen tone or something? But I can show, you know, how the gear works and where things are and that sort of thing. But yeah, we just got started here. There we go. Here's my guitar. What you heard is my main clean. It has a pitch block doing detune. So you get some stereo separation. I have the mix of that block right at 50%, so you get some dry. This is without it. You know, pretty standard. And this is like a coil split sound on this guitar. But you add the pitch, and I'll do it back and forth. Right, so if you're listening in stereo, you get that separation. From there, I've had a few effects that I add. First was like a trem. And it's set to a tempo. Right now we're at 16th notes, so if the tempo is slightly slower. That sort of thing. So I have it, it sounds so crazy because it's a square LFO, like it's chopping everything and the depth is pretty high. So it's really chopping it up. Right, so that's some fun stuff here. And I guess I have something panning. I didn't even realize I did that. Yeah, it's panning slightly left and right. But that's so subtle, I forgot I did it. From there, you know, I have a few like plex things, and I use another tremolo here. And one of the main reasons I like to put effects in parallel like this, so in series, this delay block is in series, right? It's going straight through, which is fine. I hear no tonal difference. There's like always discussions, I'll call them, over which which is better, serial or parallel. The only reason I use parallel is, one, to get everything in the same spot. So all my delay type things are in one area for me to like visually know where they are. Anyway, I like putting effects after blocks like this, like a delay block. So without this trem block here, if I turn on the plex, it's doing this kind of crazy thing. Right? This is the shimmer verb setting in the plex delay, and I don't think I changed much here. Just when you're parallel, you want to make sure your mix is 100%, so there's no additional dry volume going on. But you can put like blocks after that. So I could put a phaser or a flanger, and it would only affect this plex sound because it's 100% mix and parallel. So when I play with the this trem block afterwards, it does this. So you should be able to hear that my guitar, just the guitar itself, is not being tremoloed. Right? It's straight, regular sound. But when I turn on the plex, because the trem is after it, and just doing that cutty sort of thing again, it only affects the plex. And then further down here, I have a multi-delay, which is kind of the same thing. I have a filter after it that's sweeping back and forth. Again, 100% mix. And this is what it sounds like by itself. Again, the guitar, the straight guitar tone is not like affected. So I like this. It's a low CPU block for my other gear, like the FM3. So I use this instead of a reverb for this type of effect, like that long sort of play thing. Right, but if I add the filter block after that, I get this sort of movement. On the FM3, if you use the virtual capo, how much DSP does that use? Well, let's find out. Let me open up my FM3. I think I didn't update this. I think I have to update it. But I'll pull that up in just a sec. Let me get to a blank preset and we shall see. But yeah, that's what this stream is. I'm just hanging out here. Sometimes I'll talk, sometimes I won't. And then when a question comes in, we can answer it. So right now, I'll look on the front panel. Well, so in this particular, I think I'm in the latest public, or the second to the latest public beta. So we're starting right around 12%. So let's add a pitch block and set it to virtual capo. And we were at 12%, and now we're at 19, let's call it. And it's going to fluctuate when you start playing and just here and there. So we'll call it from 12 to 19. So that's about 7% CPU there on the FM3. Now this, again, this number can change as they improve the firmware, make changes. Sometimes it goes up, often it goes down. So just keep that in mind. It kind of fluctuates with whatever's being added, that sort of thing. But right now I'm getting about 7 to 8% fluctuating with the virtual capo on the FM3. So yeah, that's a good ballpark, but again, it might change here and there. So yeah, that's the FM3. I'm using an AxeFx3 Turbo, so the CPU is like insanely... There's a lot of room, so it's low with everything I have in here, especially compared to an FM3, which is like less than half of a turbo for sure. The turbo is just crazy. But yeah, I'm not plugged in audio-wise to my FM3 right now, but... So here's my AxeFx preset, right? You can look at that real quick. So I have, I'm gonna show my FM3 version of this, and you're gonna see a lot less blocks, of course. But because I have the room on the Axe3 and it kind of stays at home for these live streams and things like that, there's a lot of extra stuff. But I don't typically use that on my normal gig. My normal gig is sort of straight ahead, like make guitar sounds, right? So this is my FM3 version of this. Let me pause this real quick. This is my FM3 version of this. It's pretty much the same, except I don't have the Plex and a reverb, and I think that's it, right? Plex, reverb, yeah, pretty much everything else is there. I'll play around with adding a trem or not into this preset. I think I used to have one, but I wanted a compressor instead for the guitar, so I put that there and took out the trem. Again, like live, that's not an effect I really use. For me personally, I play a lot of like acoustic gigs with this exact setup. Now we're not hearing the FM3 right now because I'm not plugged in, but it's pretty similar. So I have my acoustic sound. This is an acoustic row, and honestly, this is what's taking up like the CPU, the extra CPU for sort of electric guitar effects, if you will. This multi-band compressor takes up a good chunk, but I really like it for the acoustic sound from my guitar. So this is a piezo pickup. It's the sound's coming from the guitar. It's not like a simulation on the Fractal. But I like this multi-band compressor. I actually did not have the multi-band compressor on at the gig, and I really missed it. I forgot, and it was kind of a rush. So the next gig, I made sure I put it back in, and it was much, much better. So for my acoustic thing, I really like having this multi-band. Got a tune already. Anyway, so yeah, FM3 preset versus like an AxeFx3 Turbo preset, of course, and I have tons of room to go. So just, you know, they're different. It's different, but I get all the same tones I need to actually get through a gig on the FM3. Just I don't have those extra effects for like crazy sounds, which I honestly don't even use live. If I were to go out with like a bigger band setup and I was like the effects guy, I would probably take the AxeFx3. It really depends what you're playing, you know, like right tool for the job, as they say. I still have this on. Anyway, so yeah, multi-delay here with the filter block after it, only filtering the delay itself. Got you. Thanks for asking. I'm trying to gauge whether I'll need a drop tune pedal or the FM3 would be sufficient. Got you. Yeah. I'm not a fan of any drop tune gear. So like I only mention that because of my opinion on like FM3 versus the drop tune pedal. I've tried it out. For me, it just doesn't work. I don't know what I'm doing, if it's my guitar or the setup. Like they all sound the same to me, and I personally don't like it. That's any drop pedal. I've tried the Digitech, I've tried the Boss, I've tried everything. So I can't offer a great opinion on like differences in sound. It doesn't work for me in general. Yet my partner uses one and it sounds amazing. So I don't know. It must be the way I play or something. So I don't know. Yeah, it really depends. We can look at the FM3 a little bit more. So here, again, this acoustic stuff is here. So it's taking some extra CPU, but I always run a pitch block anyway, and I think the detune uses more CPU than a virtual capo. So if you're trying to set up, you know, you got to have an in and out block, of course. Compressor takes a little bit depending. I use the analog or the pedals. Those bring the CPU way down versus the studio types. Cab block, you want to make sure you're in standard versus ultra res. The CPU just goes way up, and I really don't hear a difference for practical use, for like live playing and things like that. I really don't hear a difference. It doesn't sound bad or anything, and you save a lot of CPU. Again, in my particular preset here, this compressor block down here is taking a good chunk of CPU. So if I removed it, I'd have a lot more room for other sort of electric, like single guitar approach. But yeah, pitch. I don't have any drives in here. I don't use those. Drives can take up a good amount too, but you can work through it. If you want me to like set up a preset right now, like what you might put in, we can try it. I can plug my electric into the FM3 side and we can hear it too. But yeah, let me know if that's something you want, or if you know kind of what blocks you would set up. We can kind of see what CPU it might use and go from there. But yeah, let me know. Okay, so that's the FM3 we're hearing now. Okay, let's go to a blank preset and set some stuff up. So we'll go to 416, I guess. Okay, so I'm just going to do the typical setup here. I'm going to put shunts all the way across using edit. And you click the output of the block and go to the input of a block. And there, now we still have no sound. So we're going to add, right-clicking. We're going to add input 1 because that's what we're plugged into for the guitar. I'm going to right-click and put output 1 because that's what we're using. Double check. Yep. So now we should have sound, but it's going to be dry. Okay, so that's what it sounds like without anything going on. Let's see, Fender type clean. Okay, so I'll put the amp here so we can have some room in front of it. So we'll put an amp block and we'll put a cab block. Now, let's see, for cabs, let's take a look here, and I guess we'll do like a 112 Deluxe something or other. I'm just choosing. I don't know all the IRs. I don't know what this is going to sound like. And then a Fender amp, a Fender clean, I guess would be like a, let's see. how do I build a preset for Bye Bye Baby? I'm not sure what that is. And I don't typically make like presets for specific songs or artists. If I knew the song, I could maybe try and help you out there. But yeah, that might be a better post for a forum, because that's going to take time for someone to listen to the song and know what the effects are and things like that. So I might post that question on the Fractal forum. It's really difficult live to listen to a song, because I can't actually, and then do that. So yeah, I don't know that song, so I can't help you out, unfortunately, with that one. But yeah, the forum should help, because that'll give people time to listen to the song and like build it and then get you a preset there. But yeah, so my streams, I usually teach how to use the gear and like set things up, and not really like making specific tones for songs. That's a little difficult to do real quick. But back to building this. But yeah, any other questions, let me know. But that's something that doesn't quite work live, unfortunately. We'll do a double verb normal. So now we have an amp and cab. Let's just see how this is sounding. I'm going to go to my neck pickup. Okay, let me turn the music down a little bit. Okay, so that's sounding a little gritty. We'll turn the drive down. If you've never used a double verb live, let's see. Let me just save this real quick before we lose anything. Fender clean stream. You can't turn that drive knob up at all. So what? Sorry, one thing. Okay, so yeah, the drive on a real deluxe, you can't turn up too loud. It gets very loud. So let me just get this clean. Still a little gritty. We're going to turn that down. Now you're going to say, I'm turning the drive down and the level's going down. Actually, not that much. Okay, what you can do is pull up the preset leveling in FM3 Edit. It's under Tools, Preset Leveling. And as you play, you want to shoot for this where the color changes here. I wish they changed this from red. I still got to request that from them. This shouldn't be red. Red, this is not a bad red. It's just like a level set. Anyway. So that's actually good. We're going to turn it up just a little bit. And this is turning up this amp volume. So if you look here and here, it's changing at the same time, because this is the amp level. And this is the best place to adjust sort of your level. So I'm going to set it to about 10. Just to give us a little headroom. Okay, put that away for now. And then, of course, we can adjust whatever here and here. Okay, that's a good starting point. Let's see, what were we saying? Lush, reverb, delay, virtual capo. So let's put the virtual capo in, since that's a big part. It's in the pitch block, so it's going off screen, but I'm choosing the pitch block. And we're going to go to virtual capo. And again, I think my setup doesn't work for virtual capo, so don't judge the results of tones at all on my streams, because one, you're listening on different speakers than me. I have in-ears and different guitars. Anyway, so we're going to go to E flat, which is down a half step. Right. I forgot if smooth or fast was better, and I forgot if high tracking better. I don't use this. Okay, we're just gonna leave it there for now. I'm gonna turn it off for now. So that's our detune. Lush reverb. So I would always kind of do it in the order I'm doing it. Put your most important blocks first. So amp and cab are important, obviously. Pitch seems to be important there. And let's see. Pins and guitars. Thank you for the comment. I'll read that in just a sec. I'm finishing up this previous question, but I'll be right there. So, like I said, add blocks sort of in order of importance. Maybe reverb is an exception because it takes up a good amount of CPU. I would add that like after your amp and cab. But let's add that. So right now we're at 31%, and we add the reverb and we're at 47. So it takes a lot. We're at economy. But a lush reverb, I don't know what lush means to you, but you know, there's like really, really lush ones. Yeah, I'll get to that in just a sec. I don't know if you mean like a medium lush or like a long, long lush. for Thorgernaut. All right, so I think I thinned it out a little too much. Let's add some of this back. I think I wanted to reduce the treble. Okay, I need a little more treble back. Anyway. Okay, so reverb, if this is still using too much CPU, we can reduce the echo density. It's already at economy, which is like the lowest quality, and this sounds great, right? I think it sounds great. We can reduce the echo density. Right now we're at 48%. If I go down to 4, the lowest, we're at 43, so we shave a little bit off. It gets a little less lush, but honestly, to me, that still sounds good. Yeah, no, not a problem with the jargon. I know what you mean. It's just I don't. There's varying levels of lush, so I'm just going for what I think would work. Because there's like playable lush, and then there's like crazy effect lush. But either way, you can get that out of here for sure. So this is the lowest quality reverb we can do right now. Let me turn it up a little bit more for the stream. One sec. Gotta adjust levels here a little bit. I don't want it to be too quiet so you guys can hear. So yeah, this is the lowest quality reverb that I can do on this unit, and I think it still sounds great. Right? If I put the echo density up a little bit, you should hear a difference. I mean, it's slight, especially live. Maybe when you're much louder, you can hear a difference, but this is definitely a place to save CPU as well. So now we're down to 43. I'm going to put it back up. And let's see. We had delay. Yeah, just delay here. So we can add some delay, you know, to taste. I like the, oh, this is this menu now. Let's see. We'll do that one. And we're back up to 48. So almost done with this one, but that's right around 50%. And we have room to add things, drive blocks, chorus, flanger, phaser, whatever you want to do. But this is like a pretty good fundamental tone. It's a little dark. I like my tones dark. So just a heads up on that, but you can always change the result of the tone, of course. The reverb mix is a little bit much. We can turn that down, but I just wanted you to hear it. We can turn the delay up a bit. So we might be at 50% or so here, but consider that these blocks have different channels. If you're not familiar with that, a channel right here is A, B, C, D. We've set up amp channel A, for example, to be this Fender clean. Now, without using additional CPU, these channels are already active, and we can use either switches or other things to change this channel. I'm going to mute real quick just in case it's a loud amp. It was a very loud amp, so I'm glad I did that. But from there, we can, let's see, what would be complementary? We'll do this, where is it? Small box. Let me turn this way down. From there, with the same preset, yeah, no problem. With the same preset, you know, not changing CPU, really, it depends what you change to, but now we have... You know, now we have this distorted amp or high gain amp in the same preset, and the CPU didn't change. Now, if I changed my reverb from something economy, changed the channel from economy and then went to channel B and it was like ultra super quality, yeah, that's going to change CPU, of course. But for amps and most blocks, there's not going to be that big of a difference. But yeah, just with this, and I can either use scenes to change between a clean. So let's do that real quick, and then I'll get to pins and guitars, if I'm saying it correctly, question in like a minute or so. But so we have this clean sound with all the reverb. So that'll be scene 1. We can call it clean, right? And to set up a scene, what you need to do is first go to that scene and then make the changes. So we're going to call scene 1 clean, and let's just save in case I pressed the wrong button. Always save. We're going to go to scene 2, and again, you go to the scene first and then make the changes what you want. Oh, I didn't put on the pitch. I'll put that on when I go back. Let's change the amp block to that distortion one. Let's turn off the reverb and delay just to be real quick and simple about this, and we'll call this lead or something and save. And now with these 2 scenes here, I have clean, right? And then just changing one button at the gig, now I have, I didn't set up the amp, so don't judge the tone, but right? And I can just click one button, literally one button, to go back and forth between those 2. So it's, let's put on the pitch block so we can detune. Here it is, standard, and then I'll detune. Right? So, yeah. You can do a lot with one preset, and something to consider is that if you're brand new to any fractal that's bang on the money, okay, cool. Yeah. I guess I could save this. Let me export it right now. I'm probably going to overwrite it at some point. But one sec. Let me turn off my computer thing. Let me export it. And then if you want that preset later, I can save it. Thorgernaut. I mean, it's not the best preset, example clean, but it might be a good starting point when you get your unit. So yeah, that should be saved. Cool. Let me turn this back on. But yeah, real quick, I'll get to pins and guitars. I know I keep saying that. And, let me just finish this thought. Consider what you were doing before you got any digital modeler, Fractal, Line 6, Quad Cortex, doesn't matter. If before you got that, you were using a 2-channel amp with a drive pedal, and you went from clean to lead with a delay pedal as well, and that was it, that's a few components, and that was your gigging thing, and you're like, ooh, I know how to use this, I feel comfortable. What happens is I'm not saying you're going to do this, but I've seen this many, many times. They'll get a Fractal or Quad Cortex, anything, and they'll be like, oh my God, this thing can do everything. And yeah, there's some factory presets that show like crazy, crazy sounds. And instead of they go from what they had, a 2-channel amp, a drive pedal, and a delay, they suddenly go to like the analog equivalent of 50 pedals, 20 amps and cabs, and then they're like, oh, this thing's so hard to use. It's like, well, you changed your approach from a few things to like 100 things. So that's something I think people don't realize, and it's, it happens to everyone. I did it too, until I realized like I'm the one who like jumped the difficulty. If we create a preset like I just did, amp and cab, gotta have that, a few effects, maybe change the amp channel for a drive, and then back to clean. That was so simple. We did it in like 5 minutes. And yeah, I could, change these knobs a little bit more. Of course, we're always going to do that. So I don't count that. Even at the gig, we changed that. So just digital gear, all platforms, isn't really difficult. I think we see there's everything available. And then it's like, oh, I want to use everything on my first gig tomorrow. So yeah, something to consider there. Anyway, Pins and Guitars over on Twitch. Thank you so much for being so patient. Let me read this and see what's going on. My setup takes out all cab blocks since I play through real cab. Okay, if I want to update them to where I can hear my FM3 through my in-ears, is it correct to split the signal after all effects? Put a cab block on the second line, and then go to the second out. Wasn't sure if having the cab block after everything. Okay, got you. Yes, so quick answer to your question, Pins and Guitars. Let me know if you're still there. Yes, it is correct to put the cab block after things. That's not a mistake. So I guess we're on the FM3. I'll show it here. But it should be the same thing. Let me rearrange this preset a little bit, and then I'll just so we have some room for some things. So we have this typical preset here, right? Amp cab, effects after, some effects before, right? And it sounds... Now, I'm not set up with like dual outputs right now, so we're just gonna have to visually see some of this. But yeah, it's common to see the cab block immediately after the amp block. Yeah, I got you. No, but it is. So the cab block, if you think of a real amp, you know, the amp goes to the cab, right? Because that's how amps work. The amp is feeding like power to the cab as well, right? So that's why like we, like in our minds, we always think amp cab, right? Oh, hey, what's up? What's up, Terry? How you doing? Terry on YouTube. So yeah, because the power amp actually sends like power or signal or something. Thanks so much, Terry. Much appreciated. To the cab, like in our minds, it's always amp cab. But I'm going to play this and it should sound the same. The only difference would be like a stereo thing, but I'm going to move this cab block afterwards. So amp and cab, right? Okay, I'm going to mute real quick just in case because we're streaming. I'm going to put the cab block last and let's play. All right, so it does sound a little different. The only reason is because this reverb is in stereo and it's collapsing to mono. So what I want to do for that is I just want to make this cab stereo just for the stream since we're in stereo. If you're playing mono live, this shouldn't matter too much, but just a heads up, that's why I'm doing it. So 279. And now we should be in stereo. Yeah, so now it sounds pretty much the same. So cab block after is totally correct for that sort of thing. I'll show you your exact setup in just a sec, but I just wanted to show like moving these back and forth. This is definitely the suggested way. Okay, so for yours, I'm going to mute just in case I send the thing to the wrong thing. This would be, so if we ignore the cab block for now, I don't want to delete it, but if we ignore it for now, right, this is your typical setup. No cab block because you're going to a real cab, right? And it would sound like this. Yes, what you want to do is usually put the cab block like last just for like physical location so you can get behind everything. And you're going to drop a line to the cab block and then you're going to go to whatever output. I'm using out 2 for now, but you know, change it around for whatever your setup is. But in 1 would go straight through here to out 1, which would be your real cab. And then yes, you want the cab block after everything so you get the sound of the reverb, you get the sound of the delay going into the cab simulation and then out to, you know, front of house or whatever you have set up. So yes, that is actually correct. This is the way to do it. It's because the signal goes left to right. If you don't, you know, if you had the cab block here, and some people do this, they don't want delay and reverb in their send to front of house or something, right? Yeah, no problem. I know that was a long explanation for a yes. But yeah, I just wanted to show that. Some people do this where they want the effects to go to their real amp and they don't want effects going to their cab for the full range for some reason. You know, either their sound guy is going to add the reverb, you know, for the band or something like that. But yeah, that is correct. So yeah, the cab, it does seem strange, but the cab does not have to be directly after the amp. It's something called linear time invariant linear. I don't know. There's a term for it that has been used for a while. Non-linear time something. It's on the wiki. Goodness, long words. But yeah, It's because this, you know, doesn't add drive. The things that matter with order typically are drive, anything that changes the tone in a gain sort of way. So drive and things like that, amp block, drive block, distortion, gain, that sort of stuff. Those do matter mostly, you know, what order it is. But the cab block, it's on the tip of my tongue, the actual term. The cab block shouldn't matter too much. It can go at the end. I could put it just like this and it should sound relatively the same. Again, if you're doing stereo stuff, you want to make sure you're panned with 2 cabs left and right. Oh, input mode. That's why. Where did I mute? I did. There. Now it sounds exactly the same because I set it up correctly. Stereo input. The only reason I need a stereo cab here, one, the stream is in stereo, so I want that to stay the same. We're using 2 outputs. That's why. But this reverb is in stereo, so I want to make sure the cab gets stereo input, and I have panned left and right. I use the same exact cab for now. But yeah, that's the same sound as we had it over here. One thing that people don't do too often, but again, if there's drive in the cab block with the mic pre, that could change the tonality a little bit, but it's pretty subtle unless you're using crazy levels of drive or something. But yeah, definitely put the cab at the end, drop it down like you said, send it to another output. Should work totally fine. People do it in the reverse way too, is they will, let's see, let me mute again just in case. They will send a full range thing out to out 1 to the front of house, and then they'll take output 2 here. Yeah, no problem. I'm just expounding. I'm explaining a little bit more from your question. So this isn't necessarily directed at you, but just going a little bit more from that. So this is their main full range sound. They'll go amp sim into like a pedal board to a real cab or something like that, you know, to a power amp, and they'll chop it here, and then all the effects go to front of house, and then, you know, they do what they need to, and then on stage he just has a dry signal without some effects. You know, he'll put another delay up front that affects everything, but you know, things like that. So there's many ways to chop things up and like send to multiple things. So yeah, that's a really flexible part of Fractal. You do have to do it per preset, so keep that in mind. The preset dictates what the modeling does, if that makes sense. You know, that's why you can't like take cab sims out of out 2 globally, because the preset puts it in there. So the preset has to be the one to take it out if you want, with some sort of split setup or something like that. But yeah, there's that. Hey, what's up? Any quick tips for a lo-fi effect? Yeah, so I don't know exactly what you mean by lo-fi, but I set this up a while ago. Let me get some volume real quick. Hold on. So I did this. So yeah, if like the intro comes in, is that what you mean? I'm not sure. Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, you want to use a filter block. And what a filter block does is filter out or in EQ. So really, I did this a while ago, so let me revisit. I set the filter block, I put it after the amp and stuff, so it affects everything. And I'm using the band pass style in the filter block, you know, all of these. And it allows a certain band of EQ to go through. So I chose around 1K. I think that's typically. And yeah, so you just choose bandpass and then set the frequency, and that's it. You can choose how wide or not it is. So I'm going to turn it on and we'll play with it. So this is what it sounds like without it. Right? I'm going to turn it on. Let me turn this music down more. So with the frequency, first you set bandpass and it automatically does that. Now everything coming through here, like we have all the low end chopped off, all the high end chopped off, and just this mid. That's typically how it's done. So with the frequency, we can move that around and get the exact tone that we want, you know, the chopped off sound. That's a little too low. And up higher, it'll just get irritating, so I don't want to do that. But I found like around 1K 900, somewhere around there. Right? And then the Q is how narrow or wide this cut is. So the wider we make it, the less of the effect we hear. And narrow, it gets really sharp. And I guess I chucked the level up way a lot because we're losing so much audio frequencies that we need to boost the level a bit. But that's really it. Filter block, bandpass, and then frequency around 1K. Yeah. I think we had the same thought at the same time. So if I put this back down to 0, you know, versus this. Right? So it's just to balance it out. So keep in mind, anytime you're doing anything with EQ, you know how there's like gain or the sliders. If on an EQ block like this, just for a visual example, if I turn this mid up +9, not only is that mid frequency going up +9, the level is going up +9 because one of the frequencies, you know, frequency is level. You know, it's how loud that frequency is. That's how loud your tone is. So back to the filter block, I'm chopping off so much audio here, you know, from the full sound that when I did this cut, yeah, it gets quiet. So some people want it a little quiet. I wanted it, you know, to kind of match. So it happened to be, you know, right around there. So yeah, EQ is level. It's just level of one area of the full spectrum. So since we basically turned all this off, we lost a lot of level as well. It explains the volume boost on the wah block, mids boosted. Yeah, absolutely. EQ boosts are level boosts. You know, if you think of it, level is just all EQ up. You know, all of the EQ coming through is up. And an EQ boost is, yeah, one frequency is going up, but that's level. You know, EQ is level. It's the level of a smaller area of the sound. But yeah, no problem. Yeah, so watch out with those. My wah blocks in general, if I ever use them, I have to turn down because a wah is basically a level being boosted and it moves. It's basically doing this. This is what a wah block is doing. You know, it's moving the frequency around, and you have to boost something to hear the difference, right? So a wah is a boost, technically, of one band, I guess I'll call it. It moves along the frequency spectrum. So already a wah is that. And then, yeah, if you have a boost in addition to that, yeah, it's going to be much, much louder. So, yeah, keep that in mind. But yeah, I'm glad I set that up a few months ago because it was a cool effect I wanted to do. Let me put it back to where I had it. Oh, and it changed the foot switches too. I guess that works. So yeah, that definitely works better for like gain. Yeah, no problem. Any cool glitch Killswitch effect? Let me think. Well, one thing I do, I did this a little earlier, is this tremolo block. This isn't necessarily a kill switch, but if you're looking for this sort of sound, so that's not a kill switch, but that's like a it's a tremolo, so it's a timed thing, as if you were kind of doing that little bit kind of Rage Against the Machine sort of thing. But I can't think right this second how to do like a actual kill switch. Tried with a momentary switch. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to do it like rhythmically, or just literally turn off the guitar? Volume block set to 0. Yeah. So really what I have here is a tremolo. If this is at all what you're talking about. The reason it works is because I set the wave to square, and it's chopping off, literally the sound. Versus like your typical sine or triangle. It's softer. It still has that, scoop. But with the square, it cuts it off completely on and off. So yeah, just set your tempo and your thing to square. And then this depth is important. If I turn the depth down, it won't cut all the way off. I hear some of it cutting off, but I still have the guitar coming through. But if I go all the way to 100%, so at this tempo and with what's playing, it's a little abrupt. So I turned it down a bit. Any way to manually control? Are you trying to do like one of these things, like so you rhythmically control it? And you can change it, musically, like however you want. Is that what you're looking for? Okay. One, get a Majesty guitar. No, I'm kidding. Let me think, because that's really hard to do, like with your foot, I think. Because you probably want it to turn on when you press. Maybe what you had was, you had it when you let go, it's on. So that's even harder. So let me see if I can set this up. I have a FC down here. Give me a sec. Let me figure this out real quick. I guess I can go here. Okay, yeah, that's a good switch for me. So we're doing this live. Let me figure this out. I'm gonna put a control switch on here for now and set it to momentary. Okay, so let me just make sure that's working. Let me see. Do I have that? Let me turn that off. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. So I have a control switch here. I know that's off camera, but let me just figure it out first. And let's see. I guess we'll use this volume. So I'm going to take it off that, and we're going to put it on that control switch. And so, yeah, what I think might have happened is right now, let's see what's going on. Okay, so that works. Yeah, so what I did is I have a volume block, and on the volume control, did you say you tried it with level? Set to 0. Yeah, so you want to use this volume thing here, not level. You don't want to touch these. But I set, in my setup, I'm using a control switch on an FC controller. I don't know what gear you're using, but you would just set it to whatever switch you have set up, whether it's your pedal switches or an external MIDI controller, whatever. But you'd set it to that CC or whatever. So I happen to be using a control switch. And the problem is with this, the way it's set up is I have no FC12. Okay, so yeah. Okay, I think I know what to do here. So right now I have the volume block on, right? And with the switch up, when I'm not touching the switch, there's no volume. When I press the switch down, it's full volume or whatever I set it to. So I can, do that, what I did earlier, this thing with the guitar. I can do it with the foot switch, but yeah, depending on the timing of the song, it might be very difficult. But so now I'm not going to use the guitar, I'm going to use the foot switch. It's off camera, but you'll hear it. And I might want to change the, where is it? I don't want any damping. I want it to be immediate. But the problem is when I'm not pressing the switch, the volume's off. I think if I bypass the volume block, yeah, so that's what you got to do. So there might be another way to do this, but basically you need a switch to turn the volume block on and off because you need to be able to play the guitar otherwise, right? So you need a switch to turn the volume block on and off. Maybe you can use, no, you don't want to use the hold. You don't want a hold function on this switch, by the way, because it'll mess up timing. Maybe that's what it was. So this switch has to be all on its own. So what I did is I used a control switch 1 on my FC. I put control switch 1 set to momentary. I think you said that. So there's that. Also, what I had to do is if you're on this bottom right switch, you have to make sure your MLM combo is off, or you have to use a different switch because this MLM is the 9th layout, the whatever it stands for. If it's on, if it's enabled, you always have a hold function on there since it's waiting for you to hold that switch and then tap the top one. So if you need that, just put this effect switch somewhere else. And you have to make sure there's no hold function or else it's going to mess with the timing. So anyway, control switch there, no holds or MLM. You got to turn that off. If you mean the MLM setting on edit, you go to FC edit, FC config, and turn this off. It's in the menus on the hardware, of course. But again, this is only for the bottom right switch of either an FC12 or an FC6. It's the bottom right switch that there's a hidden hold function, basically, if this is enabled. So if you need to use that master layout menu, that's what it's called. If you need to use that to jump around layouts on your gear, just put this effect switch somewhere else. That's the only way to do it if you also need the MLM combo to hold the bottom switch and then tap the top one. It is what it is. So either disable it like I did because I don't use that, or sometimes I don't use it, or move this switch somewhere else. That's all. But once you have that, the FC side set up, super simple. Volume block, right click on the volume parameter, set it to that control switch, and everything's there. Damping I turned down because I want it to be immediate. If this was up, it would like fade in. See how that dot is like fading in over 2 seconds? We don't want that. We want it immediate. So turn that all the way to 0. And then, like I said, you most likely need a switch, or unless this is like a scene or something, to turn that volume block off. So it's not controlling that anymore. Right? But I think the better solution is to get a Majesty guitar and use the... I'm kidding. Anyway, that's how to do that. So yeah, filter block for the lo-fi, volume with a control switch. Yeah, you just want to make sure that there's no holds on it, and that bottom right switch does have a hidden hold. God, that's hard. I'm sitting down, so it's a little easier. Standing up might be... but it works. It works. I would probably suggest finding another pedal. Like, I think like the Boss, I know this is small. Oh, I can show it here. It's the same size. I'm an idiot. The Boss pedals, if you can put that. We can reverse the curve. Yeah, but that's probably gonna be harder for timing wise. You can set the min all the way up and the max all the way down. Now it's reversed. And so now I have volume. So yeah, it's literally a kill switch now, but I guess that's how a kill switch would typically work, because it's on, and then when you press it, like the arcade machine button on like Morello's guitar. But now the timing is going to be when you let go of your foot. And to me, that's way harder. Like this is like my hand going to a button on the guitar. You know, if it was a button like Tom Morello's, that's easier because it's such a small movement, you know, up and down. But this is like your foot's bigger. So let me see if I can, I don't even know if I can figure it out. Yeah, I like it when you press down and that's the sound. So yeah, play with it. It's totally up to you. If you can get the timing, I bet if I practice for like 5 minutes, I could kind of almost do it. It's just awkward. It's like on the up, you have to let go for the sound to come in. I could probably get it. So yeah, that might actually work better. Especially like you said, it's a kill switch. So when you press it, it kills it. It kills the audio. So either one could work. Yeah, so now you can leave the block on. Yeah. I think I could figure that out, but totally up to you. So yeah, with the default, with the min down and max up, it's down turns the sound on. So yeah, just reverse these like you see here now. This is the reverse. And it will literally be a kill switch like you said, like it's called. Ah, that's weird. That's so cool though. I wish I had a gig that I could do that. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, vol block. You're on the right path. I wonder if you had that hidden hold function going, or you had some hold function on the FC. So yeah, most important thing is no hold functions for momentary switches, really ever, because it needs to know if you're holding or not. So that'll mess up with timing. So yeah, momentary no hold function. Also, if you're using per preset, just make sure there's no hold function assigned either place, either here or here. For these types of switch uses, like you just really want it to be that sort of thing. Yeah, great question. I'm glad I explored that recently and knew what I'm talking about. Usually acoustic simulations are an IR of like the body of an acoustic guitar, and that has like peaks and valleys. And then it's usually EQ. You want to make the guitar as plinky as possible in my experience. So like if I were to mute this real quick, if I have to put one in. Yeah, I agree. I think the weird part is they probably won't do an IR of an acoustic unless someone did it themselves, because that's kind of gray area too. Like you copied someone's guitar and you're putting it in your product. So yeah, I don't know. But so here's my neck pickup. If I get volume going, here's my neck pickup. You know, it was bassy. Here's my bridge pickup. Right, and then I have a coil split on this guitar. You hear how it's more plinky, like more plasticky sound. So yeah, I think because the reason an acoustic sounds the way it does, here's my piezo, is the high end and low end is like way wider than an electric guitar. If I put the RTA, so here's the piezo, you can see it's like going all the way from 20 to 20. And if we play the electric, see all that data from the high end? It's mostly the high end, but all that's gone. Super drop off at 4,000. right? So what you're trying to do is get this 4K all the way up to 20 from a device that's not creating it. So that's what the IR tries to do sometimes. It tries to put more high end, and then I've seen acoustic simulations where the EQ block is literally the highs are blasted, right? So yeah, that's the problem for me, and why I didn't spend too much time looking into it. Like, just you can't get this area from something that doesn't create it. So that's the challenge. And even the low end, the drop off is just right. It's like crazy. So again, yeah, sorry, I don't think I can help too much. It's it depends on what the preset does. It usually is like trying to squeeze all the high end out of the guitar that you can. So any setting that gives more high end from your guitar, again, like I like the coil tap thing or the coil split where you get a little more high end frequency, right? Versus, see, look right here, right around here, that versus, you know, have a little bit more, and then the neck, it's like almost completely gone. Strats might be better for something like this, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing. You're trying to create frequencies where there aren't any, so that's the challenge. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I love the RTA in this. I don't always have it. Well, I guess here I have it connected to the computer. I had another one that kind of shows EQ as you play. But yeah, I'm glad the Axe has it. I wish the smaller ones have it, but I can understand why the FM9 and FM3 don't, to save space. But yeah, it's, you know, a lot of people, like a common question is, I don't have any low end on my tones. And, you know, we go to the RTA and I say, oh, play your guitar straight through. And there's like no low end. I was like, well, that's kind of the same problem. There's no, it's not coming from your guitar. So it's not going to come from the amp necessarily. Like harmonics will like make it, you know, the way sound works, it'll have some, but yeah, if it's not there, it's hard to create. But yeah, I love the RTA for certain things. For like my lead, I should have used it earlier. I was like, why is this lead tone not, it's so missing a lot of low end. But it's kind of cool. You can see like my note is around here, and as I go up, right, you can see it kind of climbing up. So I know where my notes are. We're down in this area now. Really cool. So yeah, the RTA can help for that. You might drop one in for your acoustic sim and see if there's a frequency missing, and see if you can just crank EQ or something, you know, and try and get it there. But yeah, it's definitely compromised, like you said. But I've heard some good ones. It's just never worked for me. So kind of maybe pull up the RTA and see what's missing. You know, here's my piezo for, here's an open G chord. You know, for reference, there's a lot of data in the middle, of course, but you know, it kind of goes 20 to 20. So maybe experiment with some EQ blocks. I'm assuming there are some in the preset already, unless the IR is doing all the work. But even in IR, like if you crank that high end, it, you know, might not be there. You might need to use some additional EQ to boost that high end. But you got to watch out. You don't want it to be shrill either. So it's like it's a balancing act. Up there. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I did this before Fractal existed, or at least that we knew about it. I was using like, you know, standard electric guitars, like things, and I had an acoustic sim pedal, and it kind of worked, but it's that same thing. It's creating frequencies where there aren't any. So it worked, but it definitely sounded weird. The first piezo guitar I got was a lower cost one at the time. It was a Schecter something or other. It was like a semi-hollow with piezo in it. And I actually worked at a music store at the time, so it helped. But like right around this time, this was around like 2000, 2002. Before that, there were a bunch of Ibanez guitars that had piezos, but they did not sound good. Like they were so flat sounding. Like it was literally the sound of the string if you weren't plugged in, like, you know, the string itself. I think right around that time, someone developed like a preamp or improved it maybe, where it actually like sounded more acoustic. You know, the low end was there and the high end was like nice and pristine. LR Bags, Fishman, I think they all kind of figured it out at the same time because that Schecter sounded really good. And the problem you'll have, if anything, is if you want to split the tone. Now with the Fractal, you don't need to, because you can set up a preset, you know, change to your piezo thing. I have a switch on this guitar that does it. And have a preset or scene that's just the blocks for that, you know, with a mono cable, a single cable. And then you switch to your electric, you switch presets or scenes, right? But most, especially today, most guitars will have either 2 output jacks or a stereo output jack, and that's what this one has. And it goes to a Y cable. So I have 2 lines in. I'm sure I've explained this, so sorry. But input 1 is my electric, input 3 is my acoustic. And now I can play both at the same time. And yeah, it's more gear, it's another purchase. But you know, if you're using acoustic a lot, I know you said it's for one song, but perhaps if you had the ability, you might use it more. I'm almost like 80% acoustic now on all my gigs, so the piezo is always on. But you know, I'm sure I've showed this too, but I can do stuff like this. Let me turn this techno down. And I like to describe it, it's like a piano player using a keyboard, piano and strings at the same time, right? It's just layering. So I have 2 tones. I have this, that's the electric, and I have this, the piezo only. And if I put them together with the mix switch on here, and I'm using my volume pedal to turn the electric up and down to mix in that pad sort of thing I have. So that's with multi-delay. I usually have a filter on. Yeah, I have no effects on the piezo. I'm not trying to push you toward getting one. I'm just showing showing how I use it. It really expands, if acoustic at all is, you know, something you want. So don't blame me. But yeah, no effects here. I have compressor for it. I have EQ after it. These are just to taste. It does rejoin, you know, the grid here. This is a boost. This just boosts everything. I don't use it on stream. And then I usually have a looper here. We put the RTA, right? But yeah, it's dry, and that's how I use it. If I want reverb, I put reverb on the mixer that I'm plugged into, so everyone's is in the same room, you know, for the reverb sound. But that was multi-delay. You know, you could do stuff. If I turn that off and we use like a regular reverb, like the cloud types that they added a while ago, we have this. So yeah, again, my acoustic is like on. I have the volume up. It's straight on. That's how I approach it. So I have like one guitar that doesn't change. So So that's the acoustic. I'm going to roll in the electric now with the reverb sound. Oh, I'm on the wrong patch. That's why. Okay. So here we go. So the reason I like this is if I just played that chord with just the electric and the reverb, it sounds good, but it lacks definition. If I add the piezo, but then again, it sounds like an acoustic. So if you want the acoustic sound, that works. But you can do this without. If you have your if you have your Acoustic Sim preset, even if it's not doing exactly what you want right now, you can do this. Just split it and put either another amp. You can even do, here, I'll do it right here. How do I want to do this? I have, my grid's full, so I have a lot of stuff. You can, here, I'm going to make another line. I'm going to delete this for now. And I'm just going to put this straight over to the output. So technically speaking, this is the same thing. We're not going to use the piezo. We're just going to use just the electric, right? And maybe I'll put an EQ so I can EQ it a little bit. I'll use a graphic. And we'll use a 5-band passive. Okay, so hopefully this works. So I have my volume pedal down. So this second row here, or first row, whatever you want to call it, this is the same thing we heard, right? And I made a dry path here, so we should be able to hear it. There we go. Okay, so this is, what you're hearing is this row we just added. Right, let me EQ it a little bit so we have something. So, I mean, already that's a little more acoustic-y. I'm just putting the high end way up. Right? So we're going to do the same thing here. We're not using the piezo here. This is all electric. Right? And now I'm going to do the same thing and roll up this reverb sound. I know it's weird how they're crisscrossing, but here it is. Just that dry row, rolling it up. So yeah, maybe I want a little more level out of this. So this is like my pseudo crazy acoustic thing. Yeah, a little more level helped. And we can put other stuff here, but you know, again, I'm just emulating the piezo thing. And this is the coil tap on this guitar. Let me just slam that. Actually, since we're talking about it, I've seen people do some acoustic simulations look exactly like this. Rows or stacks of EQ, like cramming this up by 24 dB. Okay, that's a little loud. Sorry about that. Let me turn that down. But yeah, you start to get this stacking of high end. It's kind of weird, but to get more high end that doesn't exist. Anyway, so same thing. This is my dry row. I'm going to mix in the reverb. I could do that with that reverb. I could do it with this one. So yeah, I like having the piezo. Obviously, I've been using it forever at this point, and it's nice to have a hardware component of like a second guitar, but you can simulate it. I went for like some crazy high-end thing. You don't need to do that. It can be whatever. It could be another amp block here, and you just have your effects rows that you mix in with the volume pedal, right? Same concept. We could do this crazy one. We could turn them all on. And again, because I'm controlling it with the volume pedal, I can keep it so there's still clarity on the notes. And then when the effects come in, it's like to taste, right? All right, cool. I'm gonna revert this preset just so it goes back to how I had it. So if you mean this pitch block here, it's just a detune on this preset. So with it off, it sounds dry. And with it on, you get stereo. That's pretty much all I use it for. This second one on my Axe is to like play around with other things, either the virtual capo, you know, I have this octave thing. Right? I don't even know if that's the best place to put that, but I'm messing around, so ignore that one. That's sort of like a play around thing. But this pitch block is just this detune, because I like that stereo sound. So then when you play it with the piezo again, you get like a wide range of things. And especially at gigs, if they're in stereo and like you're louder, oh man, it sounds really nice. But yeah, that's all in that pitch block. This filter is that lo-fi we talked about earlier. This EQ is for my leads only. So for my clean and my clean lead, I use the same amp. I could use another amp block and change all that, but I don't want to mess with that too many things. One amp is one tone. So my clean amp is this. From my lead, I turn on this EQ and it boosts it. Of course, that's a lot because I'm cutting here. I might have to adjust it now that I've changed things. But nothing changes in the amp or cab here. I just add an EQ block to give me more, to change the EQ. I cut off a ton of high end because I don't want that, and I boost the signal. But it's the same thing, and it's just so different because of the pitch block and the EQ. This trem is like an effect. This is my volume block for my expression pedal. I have this delay that's kind of always on, just way in the background, just kind of a Vi thing I kept going forever. This block also changes to my dotted eighth. So yeah, that one. So I have a switch to turn it on to that. Otherwise it stays on this. This filter, like I said, is like a boost. If I turn it on, it'll get loud. I don't do that on stream, but it's just a 5 dB boost. And then this delay is like my lead delay. I like having this separate. So when I change between like lead and rhythm scenes, this doesn't change at all. So the delay keeps going like normal. Right? No glitches there. So I have a block dedicated for that delay that'll go through different scenes. Then I showed these off. The Plex is a shimmer. That's a diffuser. I like this one, especially on FM3. It's kind of like a reverb, but it doesn't use up CPU. And then I have a filter block after it. Because they're parallel, I can have this filter and this trem only affect the trails. Not the original guitar tone. So yeah, and then this reverb is just like that cloud reverb. So yeah, on its own, it's really loud, mix-wise. That's why I like having that hardware option to mix in some other guitar, right? Parallel routing for layering. Yeah, for sure. I started the stream with this, so I don't know if you were here, but yeah, the main reason I use parallel routing is just to, it's more visual. So I can visually put like my delays in the same place, because they would go in the same place in the chain anyway, but I can stack them here. And also parallel, that's the only time you can add an effect just to the trails of the delay or reverb or something, right? So, yeah, that's the main reason I use parallel, to save space. I don't like doing the send return thing to get another row. It's just too many things. I don't want too many blocks. I want to look at it and know like what's there so I can adjust it. That's just me. But yeah, parallel is just to kind of put things in the same place. If I didn't have this trem block, I could put the delay here. I could put the second delay. But also parallel, they're not, like you said, you're layering and they're not like running into each other. I guess that'd be another main reason I do that. But yeah, so I can have these all on and they're not like affecting each other, right? So that's too much, but yeah, I can choose, you know, because what a lot of, when I play my gigs anyway, a lot of it is acoustic. So I have my switch in the middle, so both are on, both guitars, but my volume pedal is usually way down, right? So I'm playing whatever. And then while I'm playing, I can choose which one of those effects I like. I forgot, hold on. I forgot where I put the reverb. That one, okay. So yeah, and then I can mix it in. So that's why I like the two guitar thing. On the fly, I can mix in for like, it's usually for cleans, of course, like I'm playing clean most of the time. I could turn on the reverb. Yeah, that's some John Mayer there. You know, so if in the beginning of the song, then I get to the middle, I could roll up the reverb. And then roll it out when the strumming gets faster. And again, you can do the same thing with like a dual electric row sort of thing, but just in my mind, it's nice to have a volume control on the guitar for the acoustic if I need to. But yeah, I'll use that a lot, and I'll also just use my, without the crazy reverb, I'll just use my clean chorus sound and roll that in. So especially playing solo and even duo when I have a partner who's on guitar as well, it's just two guitars and they're like in the same, you know, frequency range. So it just sounds like the same all gig long. So I like having these effects to give a little space. It's mostly for a spatial thing. Even in mono, it helps. You know, if we both sound, you know, I had a gig where another guy had a Majesty guitar and we sounded exactly the same. So I had to, you know, having the chance to mix in these things. And again, I'm just focusing on the acoustic because I play acoustic type gigs. It could be your dual row guitar thing that I showed earlier. But two tones, you know, I can choose to put things on to like separate the sound a little bit. Stuff like that. So yeah, it's just nice to have those sorts of options during an acoustic gig. And then, you know, it sets yourself apart from all the other people who just have an acoustic guitar going through reverb, right? So I appreciate that modelers, this gear, obviously I'm teaching Fractal, so I prefer that, but any other modeler I would use, like, I can take the same rig to my acoustic gig and, you know, take the FM3 to my acoustic gig and take the FM3 to my rock band gig, if that ever happens again, you know, or just whatever it is. I can take the same exact rig, same guitar, and I don't need to change it. It's just, I'm doing the same thing. So I play with a lot of duo partners and, you know, depending on the type of gig, they'll bring the electric and their amp. For our gig when I used to play drums, when we had those sorts of gigs here, which we don't anymore. And then we do an acoustic duo with him, and he brings his electric or his acoustic, of course, with like a different setup. And I just kept bringing the same thing if I was on guitar. And he's like, "Wow, you're using that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then we play it. So that's the benefit for me.